sentencing now. Oh yeah, Mike. Oh yeah.
But yeah, and I like I buy the Jeep lighters, the big boys. They're like rectangular.
Yeah.
I literally get like 6 months to a year.
Wow. Well,
Are those because I'm not a lighter loser? I don't lose my.
I'm not a lighter loser.
I don't lose my lighters. A lot of people lose them, but if you don't lose them, those big ones, they really last a long time, which I really like. Like at least double the big length, I'd say.
Yeah, I think I was around it. When I was a kid, I ironically hated it.
Hated what?
Cigarettes, the smell of them. Like, I would live with my mom and visit my dad. And my dad was dating, he ended up marrying her, a bartender. And he was always at the bar. And when I was young, you could smoke in the bars, right? I mean, so I was like always around cigarette smoke.
It's almost like they had to smoke.
You know, they'd have the window open this much in the winter, smoking, and I'm just in the back seat, you know, and that was normal, you know.
Right.
Oh yeah. I remember people talking about their parents driving around with the windows up, smoking.
Yeah, they didn't have them up, but you know, I got some relief. But
in the winter, my dad would drive with the windows barely open because it's cold, and actually for me, I saw a documentary once about nicotine sickness, and it's like 12-year-old kids in Kentucky harvesting tobacco, and the emergency rooms would fill up because just by touching the toxin on your skin, they would overdose, and they would just pass out, and so it's sometimes. So I finally figured out why I used to get car sick as a kid, because every time we'd go on a long ride, I'd be outside on it'd be like waiting for the last minute before I'd throw up. They'd be like, "When, Eric? When should we pull over?" And then I'd pull over, and I'd be like, "Yeah," puking all over the place. And then I went on a trip like in the second grade with another family, and I was like, "I just got to warn you, apparently I have car sickness," and whatever I said. And they're like, "Well, we'll see what happens." No problem. And then I realized after I watched that documentary, it was all that cigarette smoke. Because if you're like 30, 40, 50 pounds, there's just all that cigarette smoke in there, it makes you nauseous. You know, that's one of the signs of nicotine overdose.
For sure. I don't think I've ever gotten that nicotine poisoning to the point of throwing out that I can remember.
Yeah, well, it's...
Yeah, when you're young, though, you're like just not... Your body's so sensitive. You don't give kids caffeine, right? You gotta monitor their sugar because they're just...
Exactly.
You know, it only takes a little bit.
Right.
But, I mean, nicotine is... As an ex-smoker, if I didn't smoke the same amount every day, I would get a migraine and physically nauseous because of the uneven amounts.
How much did you smoke when you did smoke in a day?
I was a pack a day.
Oh.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like that.
I'm going to take a quick break outside. You guys can continue.
I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it kind of is.
There's
only 24 hours in a day. You're having at least a cigarette every hour.
My dad would have to wake up in the middle of the night and smoke.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's bad.
Because he'd go to bed like at 8 or 9, and then he would sleep till 7, so he would get up at like 2 and have like a glass of milk. And, you know, so how long did you smoke for?
I did it foolishly when I was 18. I was like, "Oh, porn's free on the internet." Right. You know, I didn't really feel like I wasn't a gambler, so I wasn't going to buy scratch tickets, which in retrospect, I probably should have wasted my money on tickets instead of cigarettes. But yeah, I went out and I just, on a whim, I was like, I'm 18, I'm going to go buy something I couldn't before. It was a pack of cigarettes, and that was it for a long time until like the past maybe 3 years. I'm 37 now, so I quit when I was like 34.
That's great that you quit.
Yeah.
I mean, you save a lot of money right away. You notice that, right?
Oh yeah, the smell was a big thing. That was a driving
your
thing.
Your sense of smell returning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And noticing how bad everything smelled, like the vehicle. Like I didn't smoke indoors, so like the house never smelled bad, and my clothes weren't terrible. But after a while, like there's a couple items, you know, like a jacket that because you don't wash jackets all the time.
Exactly.
That held the smell, and I put it on after I quit, and I was like,
yeah,
gross.
You don't know how much it stinks. And as a non-smoker, like in the 80s in the nightclubs, you could smoke. And so you'd be dancing, you'd be there for like 3 or 4 hours, and you'd wear like, kind of your best clothes. And even if you didn't smoke, you'd come home and you wouldn't have had to wash your clothes every time. But with cigarettes, you did, because you'd wake up the next day and go like, holy shit, this stinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nasty habit. And then if you like kiss somebody who's just smoked a cigarette, it's disgusting.
It's a bad habit, but one on occasion is very nice. Because when your body isn't acclimated to it, yes,
yeah.
then it's much more enjoyable. Is it the same thing like you're saying with meth? Like the first time it's kind of nice,
right? Like,
but then like after that, it's like not really. You're just like fulfilling this cycle of shittiness.
Right, right.
But it's almost impossible for most humans to like take something that's enjoyable, but only to have it like once in a while,
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I certainly can't do that most of the time.
What, with cigarettes or meth?
Like, if there's something that's, really enjoyable that
right.
You have to space it out or else it ruins you.
Right,
like,
and you ruin it. Like,
if somebody could be like,
is ruined.
If somebody could control it for me and be like, here's your monthly whatever, I'd be like, sweet. But
right.
Like, I can't do it. Like, I can't do that, really. I mean, I can sometimes, but like it only takes one time to...
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like you can be like, let's say, good.
What was that saying? Like there's like a detective maybe or something thing, detective criminal angle where it's like you have to like criminals never have to make a mistake where the detective only has to be right once or something like that. Anyway, I can't remember.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's similar situation.
Right. Because you are doing all these crimes when, you have to cover your tracks
right.
in a multifaceted way.
Right.
The detective only has to catch you on one job.
Yep.
Right. Or, put like two acts together.
That's how it is with
something's missing and you were the only person there at that time.
They catch you. That's what it is with the drugs. Like it just takes one bad time and you're hooked. So.
Right. Like I started drugs like many times, that like I probably started drinking, when I was 16 and maybe smoking pot. And for the first year it was occasional. And then by my second year of smoking, I had to smoke. I was a senior in high school and had to smoke every day, probably multiple times. Well, I didn't have to, but did and enjoyed it. It wasn't like a big deal. But when I went to my first year of college, I continued, but something went off like, no one likes the idea of addiction or thinking themselves as enslaved to anything. So, like I was able to quit for like a year or so when I was 21 and slow down on the drinking and, and you can do well for a while, but
in your I was researching Denmark because they consistently rate the highest on the list of countries in the world of the happiest people and the lowest amounts of corruption.
Right.
And everything is just like super nice and awesome there for living. Like they've just it's not like the over capitalist society of America where they like suck everything out of you possible and like it's still nice if you can figure it out, but if you can't, then you're kind of screwed. Where it's
harder for outsiders.
It's harder to fall into bad times if you're a Danish person because like the support systems, everything is so well. Anyway, my point is, they have got like a holiday of how much they love drinking beer.
Right.
Like all the Scandinavian countries.
Oh yeah.
Have this like huge love for beer and holidays about it, and it's like everybody like loves beer. Like it's the best thing ever made.
My father was Norwegian of descent, and that was what he drank every night was beer.
Dude, I used to drink so much beer.
I used to drink a shit.
Remember the 40-ounce bottles or whatever? I mean,
or the corks.
I've told this to my friends before, but I would enjoy the feeling of my stomach being like totally full of beer after like slamming like 2 or 3 in a row, because it would just be like this warmth emanating from my stomach to the rest of my body that would be like have enough there to do that for like a few hours, it'd be like or something, I don't know, but yeah, anyway.
I was like violent with my stomach. I didn't realize it like when I maybe by the time I got to college, I think I could buy a 6-pack of Becks, and the first one I would always drink in one sip.
Sip?
Just try to get the party started. I did that for a couple of years. Like the first one was like,
Man.
not every single time, but
I miss that German Becks.
yeah.
I haven't really had any since they switched over to American
Right.
brewing.
I mean, it really used to taste pretty good.
Oh man, that German Becks. Oh my, it's literally like champagne, where it's just like cold and bubbly, and like that's it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. I just recovered my health enough to have a couple beers the other day.
Right, because when you're in bed, like I got some kind of stomach problem or immune problem now, and they told me not to drink, so I don't drink. But it's actually not hard now when I'm like at this stage in
It's
life.
fun when you're in your like teen early. Well, I mean,
But your body has to be healthy. Like drinking
that's
when
what
you're
I'm
sick
saying.
does not
Like, when
feel
you're
good.
young,
Yeah, everything.
it's
all
great.
systems go.
It's like the best
Hmm.
because you can recover so easily. But once you get older, because like it has a real people don't understand. A lot of people probably don't know this. I mean, I'm sure a lot do. But alcohol really has a negative effect on your health.
It's terrible for you.
It's really bad.
Yeah, they've recently changed their outlook. They used to say a glass of wine a day was healthy, and they said no amount.
I heard the reasoning behind that. So the reasoning behind that is the stress reduction.
Is that it's poison.
So if the stress reduction that you get, because stress is extremely bad for your health. Stress causes cancer. Stress causes tumors. Like the list goes on, like hundreds of things.
Causes more stress.
You can literally just die from stress, and it's seriously so bad. So if the amount of stress in your system that gets lowered from a drink, if the health benefit of that outweighs the health detriment of the drink, that's when the one drink can be overall beneficial.
Yeah. I don't begrudge people like, let's say anybody who has a job.
But it took me years to be able to enjoy alcohol. Like, I'd have to take time off now for my body to recover, and I didn't when I was younger. So, like, in my early 30s was the first time I noticed, like, oh, man, I'm not really feeling that good.
Right.
Like, I don't...
It's just like the other drugs we were talking about. Like, it starts to not feel good. It almost feels like... I used to feel like, I need to it was a stressful day. And I want to go to my isolated island in my head, whatever. And then but it doesn't appreciably make one feel better if it's habitual like that.
But yeah, that's like, we're talking about how when you're young, it's fun because your body can recover so well.
And there's the novelty of it. I mean, anytime you try something, one of the tedious aspects of getting old is that this idea of getting your nerve endings going or something. Nothing's exciting as,
Right.
The first
That's
time.
That's why you got to get on a fast motorcycle or snowmobile. No, I'm just joking. No, I know what you mean. But
right. Well, even that, might not. Well, that can
Dude, I'm telling you, when you hold that full throttle in the trees, you got to slow down it. The turns coming up, it's fun.
Yeah, no, that is.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I better let go of the throttle or else I'm going to die. But this is awesome while it's held down. But yeah, no, in my early 30s, that's when I first was like, oh man, I'm actually feeling more bad than good from one drink.
Mm.
And so I was like, why am I even having this drink if I feel more worse than good? Because like I didn't realize, but it had taken away so much of my health. And what it really does is it hurts your liver, and your liver comes from Latin live, because they say it's really the most important primary organ for your entire body. Whereas we tend to think the heart is, they would think the liver really was. And I think I might agree with them, but it's definitely a toss-up.
Well, I mean, like...
it's your filter, man.
Yeah.
Like you can expect that you're going to get a certain amount of life out of your heart, I suppose, but if you corrupt your liver at at a young age...
Livers actually can...
regenerate.
I found this out. If you give them enough time, like an entire year... they can like totally regenerate.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So anyway, my point of my story is it took me, when I realized that what a drink made me feel more bad than good, it took me years to figure out that like I can only now have maybe like 3 drinks and then wait like 4 to 6 months for my body to recover or not push it because I had pushed it over the edge.
Right.
And now I have to be like, now I understand that my new limits as an old person that can't regenerate fast is
old
like
person.
I can literally I mean,
Hey, he's sliding into being middle-aged.
I seriously like maybe can have 12 drinks a year or something.
That's more than I choose to.
Yeah.
You don't drink
I
at all
was
anymore?
I was a liquor person, and it
Oh my
just
God.
goes down too easy.
And what
The
happens to
liquid
it? It
candy,
goes-
yeah, liquid
Yeah.
candy.
What did you drink?
Bourbon,
Did you have it? Was,
rums and bourbon.
That stuff's kind of serious. Like, I mean, like it really hits you. Like,
oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's why I like the beer, because like you can just keep chugging it, and you never really. It's not like a huge problem.
yeah, like anytime you really concentrate a substance, like
Yes.
weed is kind of mild, beer's kind of mild, but
Yeah.
like, you know, if you make beer into whiskey or if you like a stimulant like cocaine, people choose coca leaves, but after you do all these permutations of it, then it's like a deadly, you know, addictive drug.
But it was really
The
cool.
farther you get away from the natural form of something.
No,
but
for sure, concentrating them. Is,
But anyway, so you would drink all that stuff and
oh yeah, all the time. It was bad. It was like I don't know. I just got sick of my own bullshit,
Right.
to be
Totally.
honest.
You look at
But
you-
yeah, it was just it was, you know, it was enough to make me dumb enough to go to work, and it was just socially accepted, especially in this area. I couldn't tell you how many of my friends would drink and drive on the
Right.
background,
Right.
you know, back roads and stuff. And it's bizarre to be clear-headed now and look back at all the shit I did. Like, I probably could have taken somebody's life,
Oh.
including my own, just driving around having too many.
Well, I like the
Yeah.
way you think of someone else's life first instead of,
I-
you know, I could have, usually people are like, I could have died.
Yeah,
You know?
well, it's my life, you know.
But yeah, like
I-
killing somebody.
yeah.
Imagine if you killed somebody.
speaking of drunk
Yeah.
driving and killing somebody, I recently found out.
I recently killed somebody. I was drunk.
Right.
Oh, you champion the road then, eh?
You're like a discipline.
No, but I found out that actually the number one way that people get hurt in car crashes is going through an intersection where you have the right of way and the other person runs the light or
Oh,
stop
yeah.
sign.
That's a brutal.
Apparently, that's like the number one like way people get in bad accidents. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
when you have the right of way,
Side, you don't have side
you still gotta
airbags,
look.
maybe.
If someone has a red light or a stop sign, don't.
There
take
isn't
it
a
for
lot of
granted.
metal between you and the other car. Or
Well, the
like,
modern
it's not like a
cars-
front. It's not like a front end collision where there's a entire
Right,
engine.
yeah, the
and
T-bone.
There's all this distance,
Yes.
like to absorb it. You absorb it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got hit once. The lady ran a stop sign
See?
and just at a short, like it didn't seem like too much speed she was doing, and like my head went up. I still have like a little neck pain sometimes. My head went up into like the roof, and I got a laceration across the side of my head.
Ooh.
And I also stopped. This was a 1966 Ford Galaxy in great shape. Anyway, low mileage. Oh God, she ran the
Damn.
best.
I remember your Galaxy. That was your favorite car.
No, it was a green one. It wasn't that white one, which
It
the
suited
Fairlane,
you well,
which I
though.
liked.
But it suited your size well.
Oh no, that was great too. And
Yeah.
but then I also bumped into the steering wheel, which they used to have like a metal horn on it.
Yeah,
and,
my
and
Corvette-
it popped off,
yeah.
and
Oh.
like a spring, it popped off, and it was. Anyway, I forget what the point was.
You
Yeah,
gotta
so-
look when people have a stop sign or a red light. You still gotta look at them. You can't take for granted.
It was just a stop sign, and she was over there, and there was no reason she would do it. And then
That's why-
her husband came and collected her, and it turns out she just had like an abortion, and she was driving herself home.
Oh,
And
like
she
an
was
anesthetic,
looped, and I
yeah.
didn't, I wasn't wise to the ways of prosecuting, and I didn't call one of those snake lawyers, which I should have.
Oh my god.
All I got was like my car reimbursed, and I went to get the money, and the guy's like, that car didn't have 45,000, that had 145,000 miles on it. I'm like, look at the brake pedal. Look at the interior. It's in perfect condition. It was just that it was in Albuquerque, and it had been out in the sun some. So the
For
paint
those
had
who don't
started to fade.
know, old cars had less odometer digits. So after 99,000 miles,
You had zero.
nobody knew if you had 100,000 or 200,000 or 100,000.
Mm.
And so that guy was trying to stiff you on your money. He's like, that didn't have
Right.
45,000. That was 145.
Oh, he was such a dick. And that's like
Yeah.
another thing, like the restaurant people manipulating you or managers. Like, you don't know what to do. People should tell you when you're in an accident, I don't care what, call the police and get a lawyer, because
I didn't do that.
You
The
know-
last couple times I did, I was just like, are you good?
Right. Well, if it's
Like,
a
I'm
little
good.
fender bender, last time,
Yeah.
a guy hit me recently, and I was like, yes, I think twice.
I've never
That's
called the
happened in
police.
weeks.
There's
It's
been,
nothing.
I've had 2 kind of bad accidents to the point where we had to pull over and they had to get body work done and stuff.
Right.
And in both those times, I did not call the police. I just exchanged information. I think
Right.
maybe one of them might have called the police.
Right.
I don't
Well,
remember
maybe I'm
that.
wrong about the police, but I mean,
No, it's.
but especially, I'm
It's a
meaning,
good
that,
idea.
if there's a chance that if there's a big impact, even if you don't feel bad at the moment, you could have been.
It takes
like I
2
say, I can still feel this pain, and that was like 30 years ago.
It takes
My
a day or
neck.
2 for some pains to set in.
Sure. I mean, when I was hit by a drunk driver on my bike in San Francisco, I went to the hospital. I seemed to be okay. They wanted to run an IV line, but I'm afraid of needles, so I convinced them to just push me into the hallway and give me some cranberry juice. And I said if I passed out, then they could do what I wanted. And they're like, well, maybe it'll be too late then. And I'm like, yeah, well, I still don't. Yeah, I'm kind of irrational and afraid. So I was like, I still don't want needles. Then I got tired of being there, and I just got up and walked home, and I was definitely out of it. Like, the only cognitive thing in my life that I've forgotten was in the next 2 weeks, I didn't know, I mean, I was in pain, but I didn't know I was in that much of a fog until a friend of mine he was 6 months later, he was going, remember when we watched that movie with Woody Harrelson or something? And I'm like, no. And then he's like explaining it, and there wasn't one thing I
Nothing
remember.
could kickstart it. Huh?
And he was like, dude, there's something wrong with you. Like, are you out of your mind? And of course, I've never blacked out from drugs and alcohol in my life. So that was like that probably didn't help the old noggin.
Oh my God. It's so cool that you got to experience San Francisco before it was ruined in the modern day, because it's rated the #1 best place to be a pedestrian in the country, alongside Boston area.
Yeah, mostly you can walk across the intersections in California and cars will come to a complete stop, and that's been cultural since the 60s. It's been very pedestrian friendly. So, usually that's not a problem. This guy was drunk, and about 2 or 3 seconds before he hit me, even though I was way over on my bike on this side of the road, bicycle, and he was 3 lanes over. He had an old 60s pickup truck, I looked back and I turned forward and I said, this guy wants to kill me, or this guy's trying to kill me. And then I thought, well, that's a ridiculous thought. And before I even got to the word thought, I'm like, boom! And I bounced off the windshield and probably flipped over the truck, or somebody said I went 20 feet in the air.
He came over 3 lanes?
3 lanes, and it was just quickly as I could think.
Nobody
I thought,
expects...
that guy's trying to kill me.
Wow,
And I thought, well, that's a weird thought. Boom!
Yeah, you gotta trust your gut.
I know, it comes to you.
It does.
And then I landed, and then I was looking at his truck, and I thought he had run over a box because there was cardboard or something flying around. Turns out it was a person.
Oh my
So
God.
I went over the truck. She went under the truck. She was a lawyer,
Oh my God.
and she got a head injury, and she couldn't practice law anymore.
Wow.
And so she got $1 million out of that accident. But who cares? She can't even
Right.
work. I mean,
Right.
a lawyer,
Yeah.
that's a 3-year salary. I don't know how much money they make. Then the guy swerved like this and that, and then he crashed into not a grade school, but the fence outside of a grade school, which brought his truck to a stop. Then he gets out and he starts throwing beer cans over the fence into the grade school. It was the most pathetic.
To try to
Trying to hide the
Trying to cover up
evidence,
his
yeah.
crime, and then it was his 3rd DUI. He didn't have a license.
Just
it was his friend.
gradually making it worse and worse.
Everything was. I mean, this guy didn't-
Involuntary manslaughter almost, and then just in the kids' yard, and then the alcohol in the kids' yard. Oh my God, I
It's
can't even.
Yeah, it's you wouldn't, even if you're saying I might have hurt somebody, that would be an extreme. You probably wouldn't expect that you would, whatever. But not that you wouldn't hurt somebody, but that you would be that ridiculous.
But you were an elite bike rider.
Me?
Right?
I actually did get very good at
He
the
would.
frickin'
It's
bike.
it's one of his favorite things and his best skills, and he doesn't have a good bike right now. He doesn't have any bike.
Well, I'm too old,
No,
and you go out on the road.
You would be so.
you-
Where you live, there are so many beautiful, perfect roads that are so smooth
Yeah,
that
they're
there's
smooth.
no to low traffic on.
It's just that I read about once a week. Some people come out of New York City and they go along the highway called 9W in New
Yeah,
Jersey.
well, those cycles on there are dumb, I think, because those residential streets are way safer and way
Yeah, right.
way more enjoyable.
They all-
when they're dead, Like if on a dead street,
Right.
you can just like mess around. But I think that you really should get a bike because
maybe you're right.
It's one of your favorite best things, and you live in a great area for it. Like those dead streets back behind the school and stuff.
Right.
Like if you can just
Yeah, well, that's an idea.
I really think you should. So
you'd stay on the side roads because everybody wants to go on the main roads.
Exactly. And in San Francisco, you were like, did you have like a job on a bike? Because I remember
it was I had to go to work and ride. My bike was my method of transportation, and there was a big hill. It started on Baker Street. I was on Divisadero, and I can't remember what the downhill street was.
Oh yeah, it was so steep.
It was right after Fillmore or whatever the fuck it was. So it was like my work was, at least on the way to work, it was about 5 minutes if you pedaled hard and you caught all the lights. So what all of us morning commuters would do, we would, and the lights were all timed, so we'd sit at the top of the hill, and then we would know at a certain moment this is when you go. And so there's 3 lanes of traffic. It's the morning rush hour, so you're going down and you're lane splitting because all the cars are going much slower than you because they're hitting lights and they're backing up. So you're going between 35 and you're going in 21st gear and you're pushing as hard as you can the whole time.
Wow.
Because the speed's great and you move, and it's easy and you're moving fast. And I remember one time I'm like right behind a truck, like a UPS truck, and he goes to turn and his bumper comes out a little bit, and I just went like, don't, like just touched it real quick just to see if I could touch it. Like your reflexes get fast, things slow down and you get fast. But I would get to work in 5 minutes and it was like a 20-minute ride home because it was uphill all the way, it was probably
and that's a San Francisco hill.
Oh yeah, those things. I remember going down Fell Street, and Fell's this giant street, and so it would level out for the cross streets, and then you would go over the top and you would catch air, like a pretty good amount of air, and it would keep, that happened like 15 times as you go down the street. It's like
that's just like snowboarding or skiing when the cross trails come, and you jump off them. That's so fun.
Yeah, so that was pretty awesome. Just riding on the sidewalk or going between buses and
When the reason I mentioned that is because I had a similar period when I lived in Burlington.
Yeah,
I biked around because it was the best way to get around.
That's the thing.
You could go get groceries and come back faster and easier than any other way.
Exactly.
And then you would feel good because you just exercised. It was like, but I remember one of my friends because I whipped all around that city on my bike. City. It's very small. It's a large town, small city. But I remember one time my friend telling me, like, oh, you almost got creamed by like a car by that intersection, dude. Didn't you? I was totally unaware.
You were?
I had no idea. Well, who knows what he saw or if he's exaggerating, but...
Well, sometimes what people do looks dangerous, but I found like on the bicycle it was better. People would be like, don't ride up behind me without announcing. But actually the best thing was to assume the right of way or just take, maybe on a bicycle, not even the right of way, but like just go. Like action was better than reaction or caution.
Right.
Because you would get through it. I mean, I never fucked up doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not the greatest bike
and
rider.
The reason, I remember I brought a bike down and I wanted you to ride it, but you wouldn't ride it because it had no tow baskets.
Really?
Is that
Yeah, that sounds like me.
I mean, what's your preferred setup?
Well, because I had a nice bike, I liked that you could pull and push, or something. So it was like I had a pretty good bicycle.
I hate those clip-on shoes, though.
Yeah, I don't like those either.
No, the baskets are sort of okay because if you want,
you really can pull out. The clip-on is like you really better have that down. Or I mean, the first time I rode one, I just come to a stop and like.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Too much restriction.
Dude, there's something.
Yeah, it's not.
Dude, hardcore road bikers are so funny to me because, first of all, the helmet's covering the top eighth of your head.
Right.
And you're wearing a skin-tight suit because you think you're in the freaking Olympics or something. You got your clip-on shoes, which is the dumb.
Right. I mean, and that's another thing about my area is that everybody's got like a cycle team. I would just be going to work in my bike, like whatever I was wearing. And
you're a practical biker.
Yeah, I mean, it was my.
No,
I would even ride it to the gym and go to the gym. And then these guys around here, they're all like wearing these riding shirts and special. They look a little. I don't know what the acceptable pejorative would be today.
Let her rip. What are you gonna say?
They look like a bunch of figs.
A bunch of quiz over here.
I gotta hit the potty. Keep going.
All right. Can you get? Remove that.
I can squeeze.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, we're doing good. We're getting towards a point where we can stop. I
did it.
We have almost.
What is that, like an hour? Have we been here an hour?
Almost, I think a little over an hour. So we shoot for about an hour and a half generally, and then like cut it into 2 45-minute episodes.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So we've pretty much made that much time, more or less. So
Yeah.
we can just casually phase out of.
Okay, like having to have a structured
we
story.
Don't have, no, I'm just saying we don't have to. No, nothing about the structure. But, well, I guess phasing out is sort of structural, but my point was that we don't have to go for much more than
Right. Yeah.
5,
right.
10,
we
20
got
minutes
really
if you
got the
don't want
body
to,
of it.
It's probably.
Right. Well, I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah, me too. There's a pirate sword behind you.
Oh. God, how did you know I needed one?
You had a red beard.
Yeah. Yes, I did.
Erik the Red. And you came from the Scandinavian regions where the Vikings came from.
Yeah. Yeah, that was weird.
So that sword should come pretty naturally to you.
Well, the Vikings would use a broad sword, which is straight and long, pretty heavy.
Yeah.
And so you kind of really trying to... I think it was more than just the blade, it was the heft of it.
Oh, yeah.
In general.
The Zweihander, big sword.
That's 2 hands.
Oh, it is.
Zweihander.
Yeah. I've got that in... I'm playing this really good game for the first time that's like really old. That was an amazing game that I'm sort of just getting to now.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's really cool. Like, I remember you talked about your martial arts days.
Yeah.
It's sort of like that because it's very realistic fighting. So it's like, if you don't block at the right time, and then there's the different striking ways.
Yeah.
And you have to see how your enemy's moving.
Right.
And you have to, it's like a dance.
Well, you don't want to provide a big target, and what you're looking for is targets.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's the...
And I just got such a big sword in that game that, when you swing it 2 hands overhead, it takes like a second to get it back.
Well, that's the thing with something
so
heavy.
You got to
like
make
that.
sure that.
Yeah, I mean, it has its drawbacks.
It's worth it when you hit with it, but if you miss, it's then you're exposed for.
Right.
It's sort of like what do they call it? I still wanted to play that. Man, there's such a fun boxing game on Xbox 360 that you would love. That I loved.
If I could master.
Well, a haymaker, that's what they call it.
Right.
It's like going for a haymaker.
Yeah, you're throwing your
that,
biggest, best punch.
Then you're open.
Right.
Right.
Like in a boxing match, guys will start off around 1 or 2, and they keep their punches short and tight.
I learned so much from that game, the value of jabs. Dude, I would jab the fuck
Wow, that's
out of
amazing, because I was thinking that last week.
I would jab people to death.
That's exactly it. I mean, you don't go overboard. If you have a good weapon in your jab, just jab. Like, you don't have to be right hand. First it's going to wear him down, and it'll set up the other punches. Be a little bit
exactly.
patient.
Then
now you don't even have to throw the jab. Now you just kind of pretend you're going to throw the jab. They'll respond, and you know where their head's going to be, and you come across so. The jab sets up the fakes. It sets up everything.
Oh man, I don't know if that game had fakes. I never even knew of fakes.
A feint, yeah.
A feint. Oh, maybe.
Well, I don't know if they would have body posture, because there's a shift in the body posture, and so now the guy there. I remember a good friend of mine that I would spar with, and he was just a little shorter than I am, which I don't like people who are too short because they frighten me. But so I would be,
sorry,
how tall are you?
Like 5'8".
Well, that might not be short enough.
No, he's talking about midget.
If you're kickboxing, this is one of my weapons, and so if somebody, in the old days,
he used to get beat up by short Mexicans.
Yeah, if somebody gets in here, these 2 weapons are gone, and if they get, I'm like this long. If they get in here, then these are gone. Maybe I can throw elbows, but kind of in the gym, I mean, you might or whatever, but it's kind of you got to learn
You're used to a certain amount of...
Yeah, you're used to kind of punching. That's what you practiced, or some kind of striking.
When they get inside your natural striking distance.
And their legs are going to work, and their hands are going to work. And
plus
strong.
They're faster because they're smaller.
Well, I mean, it's just one of my work. I can remember, this guy wasn't that great skill, but I'm 6'4", he was 6'7", and I was like, oh, I know exactly what to do. And I just stepped in and jabbed, and then did it, and it was because it was I could see what my weaknesses are when I'm the tall guy. So you shouldn't necessarily, it's no great advantage. I mean, in a way, it is tall, but if you can't generate enough power to keep somebody off of you, so I guess what I did with my friend was I'm jabbing him, maybe I don't think in that particular one I cut his eye at some point, little eye cut. And I think I was like should have been a little bit more mellow, but I didn't really think I was that good, and so then. But
that's when you are good, when you're not trying hard and you're going easy.
Yeah, but I wasn't going easy enough because I think I was like, well, I better try not like try a little harder, but I should have just pulled it back a little bit. He got me, too. That's the name of the game, but he
was this sparring or a fight?
No, just sparring. He broke my rib one time, so
wow.
I did
in a sparring match.
Yeah, well, that
sounds like more than sparring.
Well, maybe I wasn't in that good shape. He did a spinning kick.
That's true. You can.
I was in the corner and boom, and we were like, I was like, crap, and I was like, that's it for today. And then we were like, yeah, let's go get some pizza. So we would do that, but. What did I did? I jabbed him a couple times, and then so he's trying to, he was new. He wasn't new, but he didn't really know it. So he's trying to figure out how to slip the jab when I throw it. So then when I could tell he was going to do, I could see after one time he was doing this. So I faked the jab, and then I kicked him in the head or in the face or something like that.
Because you knew where it was going to be.
Where his head was going to be.
Yeah.
So that's why it sets up the other.
Yeah, I would jab a bunch of times in the game and then do like maybe a medium and then go back to jabbing and then...
And just the jab can, if you can cut somebody and hinder their vision, which happens... I can tell you a good funny fight story.
Okay, that'll be a good last story.
Which was like I was sort of out of training.
Unless, Aaron, did you want to talk about the thing that you brought up?
Oh, yeah.
We kind of talked about it a little.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. I just had an idea that I thought was pretty funny.
What?
I guess because this was around Halloween, it was going through my head. If somebody dressed similar to a street performer, but then got like dosed in a bar and became dosed. Yeah, whatever,
Loaded?
Something got in their drink if they chose to or whatever.
Okay.
Maybe they had a little too much themselves.
Roofied or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. If they got out, well, there's also those, those flowers or whatever. Have you heard about that? They blow dust in your face and you become, to their every whim. You're a robot. Yeah.
They rob people in holiday countries.
Right.
They blow the dust in their eyes and they say, go to the ATM and take out all your money.
And they will do it.
And they'll do it. Yeah. They act like children. I think maybe I can't. No, that's another drug. Anyway.
Anyhow, what if that happened and you became an accidental street performer? So, those people that are out there, they have this thing where you position me and I'll stay in this position. They have a sign that says that.
Right.
So somebody goes up and, and you just make a killing out on the streets. You wake up from whatever the fuck happened to you. Why do I have this hat of money in front of me?
No, but even better, they prostitute you and they take the money. And you're just out there making a buffoon of yourself, You're like dressed up as a mime juggling bowling pins or something. People are throwing money in and these guys are taking your money. And
then all of a sudden you turn into a donkey and all your friends are donkeys. Pinocchio.
Oh, that's Pinocchio?
Yeah, the Misfit Boys or something like that? Do you remember the story of Pinocchio?
No, I just remember the beginning where he's in like the workshop.
Well, he runs away from home because he gets all pissed off because being a normal boy isn't fun. So he gets a promise from the circus leader that if he joins the circus, all of his wildest dreams will come true. But it's an alliteration to becoming an ass. So you're chasing these wild dreams. You're skipping school, right? Because all the boys are skipping school. So, but yeah, that happens in Pinocchio.
A moral to the story? It's trying to teach kids something?
Yeah, don't run away from home. And don't be a free spirit.
There was a time in the 80s where like every sitcom either every episode, but there was this idea that you had to pass on like a moral rectitude, even though you had some sitcom going on, like where you tried to teach them a lesson. Probably like Saved by the Bell, which I didn't watch, but that probably always had some sort of morality lesson to it.
Oh yeah, I was so young to not even get that parts of the show.
Right, but it's shows before that, they would just try to be kind of profound and have a social impact, and it was really dumb and really
that sucks.
really tedious.
That makes
just drag.
Yeah.
Let's say it was a comedy, and then all of a sudden it's dragging you through. Look, I just want to laugh, buddy. I don't really want to know about.
Yeah, enough with the deep stuff. Where's the yucks at?
And if you can keep them laughing, you might be able to teach them something.
Exactly.
But if they're not laughing.
The best teachers mix the jokes like every other.
Yeah.
At least.
Something to keep you perked
Like
up
Haynes.
mentally.
Yeah, exactly. People are more likely to listen.
For sure, because then they're being entertained and
they don't know they're learning
and uplifted. Oh, what would Mr. Haynes used to say?
He wanted to be a elementary school teacher and tell the kids that they had 2 stomachs. That's why you pee and why you poop.
Oh God.
Or you're smarter than you look.
Smarter than you look. I love that one. That took me a minute to think about when I was in high school. I was like, wait.
Oh yeah, he was king of the one-liners.
He had a million of them. I regret not writing them down. I don't know how he got all those, dude.
This
was like before
funny.
the internet.
Who is this?
My old shop teacher.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in high school, Mr. Haynes.
Oh, I remember he'd be like, "Oh, you wonder why I drink." Like,
That's great.
Trying to help the kids. He would have sections of kids that he would totally write off. He'd be like, if he could get them to do one small thing per shop day, it would be like, those are the worst of the kids. So it'd be a huge achievement for him.
The low expectation.
Whereas the
kids.
quote unquote normal kids, he would have doing stuff the whole time. So he'd have different standards which was pretty cool.
Did you guys end up making sometimes when I was in shop classes, people would make marijuana paraphernalia, pipes.
Dude, I used to make so I love the lathe.
Yeah.
And those bowls that are it's a long oblong and then a short oblong.
No.
Or a circle.
Yeah.
I would make that shape on the lathe. And I was doing this apparently often enough. I think I got Mr. Haynes upset about it.
What's your obsession, boy?
That's all I did. For I don't know.
Did he know they were weed pipes or things?
Of course.
Right. So he's like, do something else besides making weed pipes.
It could have been months. I have no recollection of how long this went on, but that was the only thing I did in the class because I loved using that lathe. And one day I made the biggest one I had ever made. It was comically large. And he comes over and he grabs it and he goes, "Where's the carb?" And that made me feel self-conscious enough that I didn't make them again after that.
That's good. That's funny.
He was probably hoping you'd start selling them. So you can ask for a cut.
Well, yeah,
You're using my shop to make the product.
I know. And then I tried to make this most amazing bong in ceramics class. And this was before weed was legal.
The most amazing
And
bong.
so it was so cool. My Skylar had this ninja backpack, Ronin. It had all these poses of ninjas fighting.
Oh yeah, the Burton Ronin series. Yeah.
So I thought that was one of the coolest things I'd ever seen. So I was I borrowed it from him, and I did that design around the bottom of my bong that I was making, and then the teacher would call them, what do you call them, vessels, because it's just a catch-all for any container that you make in ceramics can be called a vessel.
Right.
And so I'm oh yeah, this is my vessel, I'm pulling one over on him, he probably smokes anyway.
Right, and besides, you didn't see that last year and the year before.
But it was huge. It was really cool looking.
Did it work?
It would have worked. It was really cool. It was large. It had ninjas on it. I was so stoked about it.
Ninjas.
And then it blew up in the kiln.
Oh man!
Yeah, or else I might even still have it.
You reached too high, Icarus. You flew too high.
Did you have your one final story you were talking about?
Yeah, I don't know if this is a good story, but it's a story, I think. All right. So I was saying that, I probably did karate, karate, kickboxing, whatever, for almost 5 years. Pretty diligent, especially for 3 years. I was all about it and trained and didn't drink or smoke. So then at the end, I think I guess I was living with this girl or something. And what did I do? I guess we were doing, not a lot of coke, but a little coke. I was a little, I'm thin, but I was a little bit, underweight. And anyway, we went to a party and all of a sudden this guy, and she was like a really hot girl in high school, and then she started to put on weight by the time I started dating her. But anyway, so this guy from her church, when he was a kid, he came up and he saw her, and he was like, oh, you know, and he started talking to her, but it was apparent he was like really shit-faced and a really kind of a bad...
Oh, that's the worst.
A bad dude, and he got pissed off at her, and he started calling her fat and shit, and I was like,
my God.
nah, I shouldn't have probably done this, but I just wasn't in the going along sort of mood, so I took my glasses off, and I gave them to a friend of mine, and then he said one more thing to her, and I just jumped to, probably only the only time I really ever started a fight, and I just grabbed him by his neck, I jumped over, and I hit him with like 5 straight right hands, boom, 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 going across the room. He hits the wall, and now he's like 210 pounds, and so he's bouncing, maybe 5'10", and he's bouncing back. So I threw 6 quick uppercuts. I hit him with every punch I threw, 11 punches. God. And, you know, I was like so upset either at the time or afterwards that, you know, it's really hard to knock somebody out.
It is.
And I was like, this sucks.
Especially if they've never been.
Especially what?
If they've never been knocked out before.
Right.
Yes, then it is very hard.
So, you know, but, you know, ultimately his face was like ripped in, you know, he was bleeding from several areas. You know, he was ripped up, but it all happened quickly after that. Like he took a coffee, he started like going maniac, but he had like some big ass friends, and you gotta like remember that people have friends. You know, you gotta turn around. You can't get too focused in the street and out in the parties and stuff. So like his friends come, and in New Mexico, the houses are like, there was a portal into like the next room, but they would have a little area for the phone in the bathroom or whatever. But I was in the living room, and they threw me across, you know, I was like 170 pounds or whatever, and they threw me like so far across the room that like I hit the wall like this high, and I just like slid down like a bug. And then they jumped on me. There was 3 of them, and they were just kicking me. One was kicking my head, one was kicking here, and then one was kicking my leg, one of my thighs, and, you know, about the knee area. And my head's going like dunk, dunk. Like I'm just looking up, I'm trying to like get my bearings, watching my head, and I'm like, well, which one of these is going to do the most damage? I'm like, and I think it's the head kick. So I put my arm up to protect against that. And then like a 4th guy starts coming in, and I'm like, well, now I'm in trouble, you know? And my girlfriend, and furniture was being thrown around. Like there was a couch in between, you know, in the doorway at that time, or the archway at that time. And my girlfriend just grabs this guy by the britches, that she would say. She's a Southern El Paso girl, and grabbed him by his belt and like threw him off. And I was like, oh, thank God. And in that moment, I was able to get to my feet. And, like, I just got like in a fighting stance. And and the 3 guys were there, and they were all, you know, much bigger than I am. And I was like, well, you know, like the only thing I could do is be like, whoever moves first is getting the right hand, you know, like.
Your stance was enough to scare him away, I'm getting?
No.
But
there was this pause, and, you know.
It was enough to make him think for a second.
Yeah, I mean, they were stood off, and I was probably at least, you know, I was probably as tall as them.
Yeah.
But, you know, and then somebody sprayed mace, and the whole party, like, cleared out. And
that's good.
Yeah, it was good, and then it gets a little sleazier, I suppose. Or, you know, the guy who attacked me he had 15 previous arrests, and he had like 14 outstanding warrants on him. Like they were bad dudes, and somebody's head got ripped open, like another little fight. Most people were like on my side, but it was a complete melee. And then And then I told my girlfriend to go home for some reason, and my friend Sabrina, who was hot. We hung out all night. We did some coke, and we just had like the best night.
Nice.
And then like the next day.
You asked about the.
No, we had a great night. I mean, it was like I tell you, that to me was a real, like, if you'd say like Viking night. You know, like you had a girl with you, you drank a lot, you got in a fight. It was like great. Like it was like so fun.
I mean, when you don't have that stuff in your life, it can feel sterile.
Right, you know, like a little, and I didn't get hurt. Like
that's why I'm talking about with the snowmobile. Like when you're flooring it and the trees are coming and a
right,
turn
exactly.
is coming. It's like you feel like you're alive for a second.
That's exactly. So I had a black and blue from like here to here, and I think I couldn't lift my arm for a few days. But I was fine. But yeah, so it felt
That's a good story. I liked
It was
it.
fun.
I give it a 9 out of 10. I like the classic moment of like everybody throwing out. That's like the frat thing, or like
That was hysterical.
it's like the total stereotypical, like actually getting thrown.
I just can't believe like I hit the wall so high and then just like slid down it, and yeah, I guess I'm lucky.
Your girlfriend saved you. I mean, that sounds like a legitimate movie scene that would be interesting if it was made well from that script. Like that's a good fight scene.
Right,
You know?
it was a good.
No one
fight
expects
scene.
the girl coming to save.
No, and it's
at
weird
the
because
end.
I was down on the ground and she
Yeah.
was like maybe 8 feet away, and I knew that the fourth guy. I mean,
And
Sure.
then the
Yeah.
mace going off and clearing out because from the sounds
exactly.
of it, you were still the odds were still stacked against you.
Oh, yeah.
But then it just worked
Yeah,
out.
that was a double whammy secret ending. No one expects the girlfriend, then no one expects the mace.
Right.
What a great fight sequence that was. That would be great to script.
yeah,
That'd be a good if Tarantino's dude. If Tarantino did that, if you watch the first 5 minutes of Kill Bill, man, Tarantino, nobody mastered fights like him. There's nobody has ever filmed fights that are as realistic and I don't like the word engrossing, but yeah, as his. Man, the movie starts. She opens the door, punch to the face, immediate fighting, rolling on the ground, the shelves falling over. They're hitting each other with like whatever, the fire poker. She's blocking the thing to the next room, the kitchen knife. Then it's like, oh, then they're I don't want to spoil it, but then they're like, they sort of like, oh, then the bus pulls up and her kid's coming out. They're like, let's stop. Like they're both in fighting stances. One has the kitchen knife, and their kid's walking up, and she's like, they're like deciding if they want to keep fighting or like what with the kid coming, because it's like this precious little innocent thing.
Yeah.
So she kind of like hides.
was
the
it
knife.
like her husband or a boyfriend or who's she fighting?
Another girl? You got to see
Oh,
this.
another woman.
You
She
gotta see
fights
this
a
movie.
lot of people.
This is one of the best movies ever made, especially for someone who likes fighting. But then, yeah, so the kid comes in, and they decide to like stop fighting for the kid's sake, and she's like, "You want some fucking coffee? Yeah, I'll have some coffee." Like that kind of
Oh
attitude
man.
with each other. It's great. You got to see it. And she's like, "I don't want no shit with my kid around here," you know, and it's great. But so they're like amicably still being enemies and like quote unquote having coffee.
Right.
But what the one, I'll say bitch, notices about the other one, and I use that term in an affectionate way, is she's bringing down a cereal box for her kid's cereal,
Yeah.
and the box is hiding a pistol in it. But the other girl notices and throws a knife faster. She goes to shoot with the box, and like as the shot's going off, she gets hit with the throwing knife. And then she's wiping the blood off as the kid comes on. It's a great movie. One of the best movies ever made. Anyway, yeah.
Well, this one guy, a comedian that was on Kids in the Hall, I think his name is Dave Thomas or Dave. Not
That was
Dave.
a great show.
Yeah, it was.
I think it's Dave. I can't remember. He's a blonde guy. He had I saw a comedy, stand-up bit with him once. He trashes religion, which is funny, and or he's just saying how American religious people are just out of their minds. And then he's like, I like it because he's bold and kind of slightly offensive, which he usually isn't his style of comedy. But he tells this story of how like he. That's the Uma Thurman in that story.
Yes. Yep.
So he meets like a young Uma Thurman. I don't know if she's from Canada or not. But she's like 18 or 19, and he's like, he's a good-looking guy, and like, not like great looking though, but like, and so she's out drinking with him, and she's like really coming on to him, and he's married, and he's like been married for like 10 or 12 years or something, and she asked him to sleep with him, and he's like, I can't, I got a wife. And he said like, and the punchline is sort of like that he got home and like, very shortly thereafter his wife asked for a divorce.
Oh,
Like he was being faithful
Oh,
to his wife.
man.
He's going, and that's how I fucked up. Like there's this huge regret.
There's a thing I've been hearing recently, Aaron. I think we talked about this, but about how like, if you're gonna cheat on your significant other, don't tell them.
Yeah, I believe that 100%.
Because it just ruins everything.
It completely does. I have a friend who came out to
They
her
would
husband
rather have you cheat
and not know.
and just
It's
Yeah.
just, and there's, it's like called OPSEC, operational security. Like, I mean, if you're that sinister, but like my friend, honestly, her husband maybe like is deficient in a way or two, and she's a really good person, and like it wasn't like something that she would
Because he could have
plan.
slept with her and not told, and then the wife divorced, and it would have been all good. So
Yeah, and they
anyway.
right, and
Yeah.
and the weird thing about being a man is, I bet there isn't a man who doesn't have like, if I had only done, that they have some hot chick or somebody they wish
The
they,
one that got away.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
that one regret where like, if I'd have just done this, or if I didn't do this, like, and it's kind of weird because like you're a dad, right?
Yeah.
And like as a dad, you can't go and tell these kind of stories that I tell because you got to act like you're a good guy. You're not a scumbag,
Well-
whatever. But like, so you can't like, there might be a time when you're in your 50s and like, if you think of like some girl in high school or this one you liked or somebody you were with, and you can't like tell anybody. You can be like, if you have friends, you can get, but like as you get older, you can't like,
Yeah.
maybe like I'll call an old friend of mine and he'll be like, yeah, remember that chick, but otherwise like nobody wants to hear it. Even if you did have somebody to help, nobody wants to hear you be like, yeah,
I was sort of talking about that with Aaron. It was kind of funny. It's got.
I'm like polar opposite. Like I mentally can't deal with like, I've been on the receiving end of cheating and told myself I would never do that. And I think like if anybody even gets flirtatious with me, like I kind of shut them off.
right.
Because like I know I wouldn't want that done to me, so I treat my spouse that way.
Right.
And it's like I've never done it, even on exes that deserved it, like that were running around on me.
Right.
Like I've never cheated on somebody, so it's just like foreign territory for me. So
that's good. Well, I think like cheating is like unless you're just a person without a moral compass and you don't have any, like you're a socio, But I think it's like weird when it happens with somebody who doesn't intend to do it and they did get married and they have been, like they really, because that's what my friend's situation reminds me about. It's like she didn't really want this to happen, but it really, and she's the last person you would think. Like I could maybe see other people being unfaithful or actually most people I know are pretty committed to that.
So is this how it started? I walked in from going to the bathroom. This is how the standoff, the fighting started? No. What is this story?
My story?
No. Somebody cheating on somebody? Where's this coming from?
Oh, I was talking.
I was talking about that comedy guy. He was talking about the fighting.
We briefly.
I was talking about the comedy bit.
We touched on a subject about.
And he was saying he
where
wasn't
he
going
was
to cheat
saying
on his wife.
you wouldn't like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he didn't cheat on his wife, and he regretted it.
Gotcha. Okay, we had to just bring it back for a second. I got lost. Detours.
I heard lately that in Europe, sex is much more less of a big deal and more free, and then they look at Americans like
that we're
kind of stupidly like closed off, kind of in that way.
Yeah, puritanical. They would say.
Yeah.
And also with just nudity in general.
Yep.
The weird thing is being an American, I wouldn't want to go like in a sauna with my relatives nude. Like
yeah.
I'm comfortable being uncomfortable with that. I like that these people can relax, but like
yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for coming, Eric.
Oh, well, thank you.
Maybe we can get you on a video call at some point. That's what I said when Dylan came, because it's so nice to have a third person.
It is.
Yeah.
There's definitely sometimes there's gaps when it's just two-way street.
Yeah, for sure.
And somebody like me, I'm from New Jersey, so you're pretty social. And my sister, James' mother, like we're just really talkative. Like if it was my brother, he's kind of somnolent and quiet, and so you would, But I always got some bullshit that I can say.
He's been through he's had he's
a kind of exciting.
He's got some stories. I mean, there's a couple things we're not gonna have time in this episode that I wrote down. Some of the most memorable stories that you told me were being in a desert in the Southwest, going to like closed mines
Yeah, that was a great story.
And there's like
We'll
AK-47s involved.
Yeah, and amphetamine and like a long weekend.
Like this guy, and that's like one of his many stories.
And that's
like,
a good.
Like, he's like, when I was a fighter, and then I kicked that guy's ass, and then we went to the mines with the amphetamine.
Well, when I lived in San Francisco for 5 years, I lived down
up.
in the fucking ghetto, like
oh shit,
where I would like run shit from one place to the other just to have enough money to eat, and I'm like the only white guy there, and I'm getting. I got like 2 or 3 fights by the time I was 40. Then after the age of Then by the age after the age of 40, we can cut this out. But like after the age of 40, I got in like 18 street fights, and some of them with 2 people, and like I'm on the downside of any. I'm not athletic to begin with, and just just surviving that. Like so, I would say winning was walking away with your phone and your wallet, but mostly I would get the better of the people. Because I had some skills, but like I couldn't knock them out, or watch for, like it was not a really, I don't know, it was kind of fun, but it was
kind of fun. You're such a you lived in a basically black only community, for a while, and then eventually they came to know you,
right? I had
as like a
respect and an equal,
right? Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, this poor guy who was like dying of leukemia gives me his address, and he's like, when you don't see me, call my mother. And you watch people, call my mother, she lives in Hunters Point, and let her know. Like a few days after moving in, I'd gotten such shit like already that I went to the top of the little hill on my street, and I just stood there sort of like with not like with my fist clenched, but I was just naked and looking for, just like, if anybody wants some, I'm here. I just wanted to get it over with so that I could walk to this. You couldn't walk to the store. Nobody in my building would leave when after dark.
I see what you mean. It's like entering a war zone and having like the feeling of like you could be attacked at any minute. So you're like, just fight me now.
Right.
Because I don't want to keep this feeling.
Right. I wanted to just, and nobody thought I could fight. Nobody thinks white people can fight. Yeah. So.
And there's that great story about your cell phone in that community in that time. And then there was another story when you were in that community with like your glasses in a fight.
Well, that's if you wear glasses, like you want to protect them because they're expensive.
We'll have to get those stories next time.
Yeah, sure.
They're good stories. I'll have to write them down here real quick.
Well, all you got to do is remind me and I'll remember.
Let's see. Eric?
Yeah, my life's not successful, per se. I'm not,
Well, successful in
being so it depends on your measurement of success. A life well lived is a good life.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was eventful. It was pretty...
Yeah. I mean, there's people that have just been born in countries and just suffered their whole life.
Yeah, Russians.
Never had any fun, and that's it.
I know.
Like, so many people.
And that's what I want. The word Viking means to go a Viking it's a verb, to go on an adventure.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, to go on an adventure.
That's cool.
So,
yeah, you're a big word guy too.
Yeah, I really like words. And
so Facebook had this awesome Scrabble game for years. And then they finally changed it and made it so you couldn't log into the old one. They should have just left it open.
Yeah, that sucks.
It really was his one of his biggest, most enjoyments was being good at Scrabble.
Yeah, for years. And I never played it when I was a kid, and then I got good.
He's so good at words.
But what it is, it's not a word game. It's a math game and a geometry game. Yep. So you have to figure out how to get those, and the words are sort of incidental.
And old Ronnie always gets you into that corner.
Right, Ronnie will fucking... and you can sort of read people's personalities by how daring they are, or if they're very conservative, or if they're, or if
they're cheating.
Right. Oh, if you cheat, I played like 10,000 games, and this one guy cheated with me, and he went to my high school. I don't remember him from high school. He was a few grades older, but so he started the game with like 3 bingos, if you know what Scrabble is. It's like you use your whole rack, and so I said, well, look, I texted him. I said, look, I don't want to play if you're cheating. And he's like, got all offended, and he's like, what do you mean I'm cheating? And or maybe he got four opening, and I played good people, and had did pretty well, and I said, look, I've played 10,000 games, like this is the first time someone's opened with either 3 bingos or 4 bingos and made the game uncompetitive, where I probably couldn't win by that point.
There's websites where you can go to where you just put in your current Scrabble position, and it's like, here's the best move.
No,
it's machine cheating.
That's not fun.
Yeah. And so he was saying, and I said, look, just statistically speaking, what are the chances that out of 10,000 games, and I played with people who are really good at this, and he wasn't that good, because they have a rating. You can tell by
the ELO, right?
I can't remember.
I think it was ELO. I don't know how I just remembered that. But.
I can't remember, but it was like, how is it that you're rated down here, but you're playing like better than people who are above 2,000?
They did that in some of the video games I played online too, when they changed to players to have like rating numbers to try to make balanced matches. People would make new accounts that were very skilled, so their number was low, and it ruined all the games.
Right.
It was almost better before they were unranked.
Because who wants to get like an easy win? Like you want to play something competitive.
Easy wins are so...
Yeah, it's empty.
Yeah, but they feel like if they lose, then it's like the worst thing ever, so they just want to win. So
I didn't like losing, but I never cared that much.
I didn't like losing either, but like...
But I don't care that much.
Easy winning's not.
Right. Cheating isn't... It has no... What's the point?
There's no satisfaction in winning easily.
Yeah.
The favorite thing for me in those games was like when the fight was really close.
Yeah.
And then maybe you'll win, maybe you'll lose, but it's so close that it's a good match. That's what made me happy.
Yeah.
And then it would still hurt me to lose those, but it would be so good to win them,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what sports on television are like. If you see a football game that's way out of control, or a big, who even wants to watch this? It's a tight game.
Here's the third or fourth piece. If I had found all those earlier, I would have glued it back together. But it's a holding bug now.
So what are you up to today, Aaron?
I've got a Christmas tree currently thawing on my porch, so that's getting put up.
Yeah.
We got some decorating to do with the kids. There's apparently a pumpkin pie. Thank you for reminding me. I got to pick up some condensed milk and some whole milk.
So you have a couple kids and a partner?
Yeah.
Partner-in-law.
Huh?
Sorry, never mind. That's a bad joke.
That's weird.
What?
It's like marrying your brother-in-law or your sister-in-law, partner-in-law.
I meant like a lawyer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not. No. A partner-in-law. Oh my goodness. No, I have a wife. Her name's Susie. And I've got a 2-year-old girl and a 6-year-old boy. And the 2-year-old girl listens better than the 6-year-old boy, and probably has less tantrums.
My sister was saying about your kid playing with her dog Mars, and how he was like.
He was super afraid at first, and now he's like best friends, and he nicknamed it all sorts of weird names.
Mars,
Sharky, yeah, Mars, Sharky.
Sharky. He's not a bad Marky.
He's not actually a bad dog.
Right. He's a good Sharky tornado or whatever.
Tornado. That's exactly what it was. Yeah,
it's so accurate too, just the way he snoots around.
Right, he's a little
He really is like a electric eel shark kind of creature.
Yeah. Right, he goes like a shark. That's a shark.
Because he'll come up to you like, "Oh, pet me" attitude, but he'll keep going. It's like, "Let me fucking pet you,
bitch."
Yeah. No, sometimes he'll stop. He'll give you his butt and then like. Be happy. You're petting his butt for a while. Classic dog shit. But condensed milk, pumpkin pie. Pumpkin pie is made from squash. It's not pumpkins. So.
What else have they been lying to me about? It shatters my whole belief system.
Hey,
I mean, they're all in the Gord family, so let's just let it ride.
I don't know. I think that's a pretty liberal use of language.
All right, guys.
All right, man. It's great to meet you.
Yeah, you too. Good seeing you.
Yeah, nice to see you.